So we start with the Times, Paul.
We do. And this harrowing story continues because they've not caught him yet. Outcry over asylum for suspect in Alkali attack. Now, the point of this story really is to give a little bit of history about this particular chap. He not only was rejected 3 times, he was then able to come in having a conviction for sexual assault because we were unable to stop him.
Was the conviction for sexual assault within the United Kingdom itself?
I don't believe it was.
No, OK. But and then the game he played, I think it's fair to say, based on his behaviour, was not entirely sincere, was to present himself as having converted Christianity. Is that right?
Yeah, and we do cover that a bit later. And it's exactly... The whole thing is a con. And, you know, the problem we've got now is there's a certain amount of cowardice around the reporting on this and the rhetoric about this because people are afraid to talk about it for what it is.
Yeah.
It's an immigrant that has come to the UK with a criminal record for sexual assault that has gone on to attack women and children with acid.
More than that, he's the attack with Alkali, when we're used to saying acid attack, but it amounts to the same thing, something which is deviates from pH7 to a sufficient extent to do physical damage to the human flesh, is something which, frankly, we regard as being a cultural artefact of Afghanistan, where he comes from, and places like that. It's a thing that's used in to disfigure women who have dishonoured the family and so on, according to unreformed Islamic tradition and so on, isn't it? This is the problem. It's almost, you might say, part of his culture. I know that is, that's being very provocative, but that's kind of where people are treading, you know, tiptoeing around.
And at no point is anyone saying within this rhetoric that we don't have our own problems.
No.
What we are saying is we're now starting to import other cultural problems, but we're not talking about it for what it is.
There's something exactly very shocking about it, isn't there? I would say, Lewis, I mean, as I did say earlier on Twitter, if I had a son and a lodger who were both threatening my daughter or my wife, they would expect to be treated differently in that circumstance.
Yeah, of course.
You know what I mean? Living in my home. What do you think, Lewis?
I think it's indicative of the whole thing is indicative of the problem that the church got involved with this guy, that the church was so desperate for people to like it that they gave this guy a clean bill of health.
Yeah.
That people can't see that converting to Christianity or converting to any.
It's like self-ID, isn't it? Almost.
Yeah.
You know, it's just a quick documentary process by which you can apparently change something fundamental about yourself, which is...
Well, you hate to say this, and I'm going to say it, is that in certain cultures, to get the job done, it's okay to lie more than in other cultures. Normally, we wouldn't have any respect for someone who is lying about changing their religion. That's a non-Judeo-Christian kind of thing. You're not supposed to lie. That's the one thing you're supposed to...
We also value women.
Yeah,
and we don't think that they...
He wouldn't be... I wouldn't throw him out just for pretending to be Christian and then not attending church. I mean, that would be... You know,
that would leave a few of us out on our ear,
exactly.
to be fair.
A lot of middle-class people pretend to a great degree of faith.
Go at Christmas, obviously.
Schools. Anything else on that front page that we need to discuss?
Yeah, there is. The US is hitting, I believe now, if not imminently, Syria and Iraq after the troop deaths earlier in the week. And, of course... This does seem a little bit more proportionate than we had feared, because at some points they were talking, or they were hypothesising, that we might start attacking mainland Iran because obviously the theory is that they are bankrolling the Houthis. And I'm glad we haven't done that, but none of this is going to end particularly well, I don't think.
This is following the rather humiliating revelation that initially they said, listen, we're going to have to cuff you around the ear for this, but don't squall, we don't want it to escalate, so just take it like a man. And they didn't take it like a man, they released that information, and now America is going to be forced into demonstrating some resolve, I think.
Well, what are they blowing up? They're blowing up basically military troops or whatever they are in the middle of the desert. It's America. That's what Americans love to do. They just love to... And I am an American. I love America. But maybe someone listening, it's so absolutely pointless.
Yeah.
Because you know what it's like saying when everything is when all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
Yes, Maslow's hammer. Now